Sup, lunatics? I'm Moonspirit, and it's my 6-year anniversary! To celebrate the occasion, I want to talk about a game I've always wanted to cover for this channel. But first, let's talk heavy metal. Heavy metal is one of my favorite musical genres out there. However, I'm not the foremost connoisseur of metal, as I'm still trying to find new bands to headbang to. You see, I follow the usual suspects: Metallica, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and Ozzy Osbourne. But I cannot deny how much we need it now more than ever, since metal, let alone the rock genre, has been on the decline for the past decade. But I'm going off track here. We're not here to discuss heavy metal, but talk about a game that's a huge love letter to heavy metal. And that game is Brutal Legend. Brutal Legend is the creation of Double Fine Productions, headed by Tim Schafer, which many would know for his works like Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, and the cult hit Psychonauts. I remember when I first heard of this game during my college years, and I was ultra hyped to get it. And to be brutally honest, pun intended, I beaten it twice and would gladly do it again. As for the game itself, it was well received, but its sales weren't strong enough to warrant a sequel. I mean, it was a success to Double Fine, but considered a failure to their publisher, EA. But Double Fine were fine enough to make other games like Broken Age and Costume Quest, as well as remastering their LucasArts point-and-clicks. But there's been no news on Brutal Legend 2 for the past years. Enough of that, let's... Actually, this doesn't feel metal enough. I got it! Now that's more bloody like it! Now raise your irons, headbangers and iron mages, because it's time to go crazy! This is Brutal Legend! All aboard! Eddie Riggs is the greatest roadie in the world, and he works for the worst heavy metal band out there, Cabbage Boy, with a K, because if it worked for Korn and Camelot, it'll work for them. First off, these guys act and dress like the biggest hosers ever seen. I mean, the guitarist has a midriff jacket with a front and back bill cap. His drummer's face is all pierced up, yet he wears a shirt with a cult-like circle with hearts surrounding it. And their lead singer, who does kind of respect Eddie, has a Phantom of the Opera motif on him. Honestly, they look as metal as Fall Out Boy. Now here's why they are not metal. Wait for it! And that was a sign that metal and rock were going on the decline.
Metal is dead.
That right there is a mood. During the performance, the guitarist moronically climbs the set and is about to fall. As much as I would cheer for his demise, Eddie fulfills his duty as a roadie and saves him. But suddenly, a piece of the set falls on Eddie, gravely injuring him. Then some of his blood drips into his sweet-ass belt buckle, which summons a giant metallic beast of chrome and fire and kills them. Yes! Death to the blasphemers! As the metal beast sets Eddie aside and lets out a loud roar on stage as everything fades to black. Eddie then wakes up atop a mountain made of skeletal remains, which fits perfectly for a metal album cover. He is surrounded by demonic cultists as they proceed to kill him, but he fends them off with a broadaxe named the Separator and a mystical V-guitar named Clementine that uses magic. As he escapes, he runs into Ophelia, played by Jennifer Hale, and they work together to escape the druid masses. They are then cornered until Eddie sees them hieroglyphics and recognizes them as guitar tabs. With the mystical powers of Clementine, he summons a chop shop to create a hot rod which he dubs the Deuce. They both gloriously plow through the hordes, capping it off with a good old demonic decapitation! The pair meet up with the Resistance at Bladehenge, which only consists of Lita, played by Katsushi, and her brother, Lars Halford, played by Zach Hanks, in all his epic manly glow. Lars believes Eddie was sent to the world to help them fight against the demon Emperor Doviculus, and free them since his belt buckle depicts Omagodon, an ancient beast that is said to have created their world. I can believe that. I mean, his body's made out of pure chrome and fire, and its claws are literally the form of devil horns. If that's not the beastly form of metal, I don't know what is. Either way, it's up to Eddie to help the resistance to amass an army and free their people from their tyrannical oppressors.
I'm sure you must be longing to return to your homeland.
Ma'am, he won't miss it. Trust me. It's 2020 and music has not been kind to rock. I think he's good where he's at. But Eddie also must contend with General Lionwhite, a glam metal tyrant who enslaved his fellow man to gain favors with the Viculus. We can tell he sold them out because nothing says sellout than denim, that thick bleached blonde hair, tacky makeup, and that pink ascot. Eventually, you'll come face to face with another enemy faction known as the Drowning Doom, a clan of humans who succumb to the sea of black tears, which sounds as dark and evil as you think, adorning black and white with gothic and death metal influences. And Emperor Viculus is this pitchfork-headed demon, and he commands the Tainted Coil, these ugly, grotesque demons all clad in leather and belts. No exaggeration, he can summon this massive creature that is literally bound in belts. So, this heavy metal world is ruled by demons, and some of the humans have enslaved their own kind, and they treat metal like a commodity. Yep, that's heavy metal in a nutshell in our world. The world that Brutal Legend depicts is like every metal album cover came to life and dug its roots into the very earth itself. While the land of Bladehenge has ancient ruins of its past, beer literally grows from trees, metal scaffolding grows from the ground, there's even an ancient asphalt highway complete with Viking room billboards. Even the wildlife is freaking metal AF! These razorback boars are a hybrid of a motorcycle and pig, as in they are literal roadhogs. Once you get to the Aztec-like jungles, there are fire-breathing beasts with Kiss face paint and Gene Simmons-level tongues, and Black Panthers that shoot lasers. Freaking laser panthers! That alone should make you want to get this game! But once you cross the swamps, it turns into a gothic graveyard samba land. There's melting candlesticks that light most of the way amongst the greenish blue and bluish purple environment. There are gravestones everywhere amidst gothic architecture, complete with a skull cloud in the sky. Give the art director Scott Campbell and all the artists medals for painting this metal landscape. But even in a world like this, you got to have a heavy metal cast of legends. Fortunately, Jack Black plays our protagonist Eddie Riggs, which by the way, is named after Iron Maiden's mascot, Eddie, and Jablinski is perfect for the role. Lita Ford, famous metal queen, plays Amazonian Rima, and her character is a huge nod to Kiss as well. The late and legendary Lemmy Kilmister is the Killmaster, though he's a healer with his melodic bassist strings, and he's goddamn smooth. Judas Priest frontman Rob Halford has two roles in this game, General Lionwhite and the Baron, leader of the Fire Barons, who is modeled after his 80s look. But this world wouldn't be complete without the godfather of metal himself, Ozzy fucking Osbourne, and he's the purveyor of metal in this world, and your heavy metal shopkeeper. As for Emperor Viculus, he's played by none other than Tim Curry, which is fitting since he was in a movie called Legend, and he played the devil too. There are other cameos in this game like Kyle Gass of Tenacious D and comedian Brian Posehn. There's even a character in the game who wears the same goggles as Psychonauts' Rasputin, and is voiced by the same actor, which is a great Easter egg to Tim Schafer's past. As for the other inhabitants of this metal world, there are unique fellows and ladies to say the least. Lars Halford is named after Lars Ulrich of Metallica and Rob Halford of Judas Priest, and his army, Ironhead, represents heavy metal. Their foot soldiers are true headbangers. I mean, look how swole their necks are! They were born to headbang and to break skulls and stone with those noggins. The Razor Girls wield the carcasses of the Razor Fire boars as makeshift guns, and Thunderhogs are apprentices of Killmaster, just to name a few kinds of people you'll recruit. General Lionwhite's glam metal faction are practically the vain and gaudy counterpart to Lars' army, all of which were denim, pink, and sometimes sequins and glitter. The Drowning Doom looks like Tim Burton's vision of a militant version of Halloween Town. From Johnny Depp looking shovel fighters, to corpse brides, to organists on wheels, these guys make Hot Topic look like their religion. And we finally have the Tainted Coil, demonic creatures that take inspiration from bondage culture of S&M, which pretty much gave heavy metal the distinctive leather look. But metal is not just in the game's world, but even down to the game's graphic design to even the fine details. For instance, I always look forward to starting out the game because when the Double Fine logo comes up, it's always sung in metal bravado, from Lena Ford to even Ozzy himself. How could you not get pumped to play this game? Even the intro cutscene is just Jack Black entering a record store to show us the title game has a hidden album in the store. And when you press start, the album itself serves as the menu. The inside covers, the sleeve, even the vinyl itself is a part of it. The very user interface exudes heavy metal aesthetic, with bold and angular lines amongst the heavy blacks. Whenever you start a mission, the game initially displays itself as an album cover, with the mission as the album title, and objective as a sticker. Even some of the missions references famous metal songs like A Number of Beasts or It's Raining Death. And once you get to know some of the world's lore, everything you need is inside Eddie's crumpled notebook, sketches and all. Doesn't that take you back to high school just looking at that? But a world of metal is nothing without a killer soundtrack that blasts its chops. We can thank Tim Schafer and music director Emily Ridgway for putting together this gigantic playlist, from bringing familiar bands like Black Sabbath and Judas Priest to other metal subgenre bands like Enslaved and Ice Earth. But not every heavy metal band is on the game's soundtrack like AC/DC and Metallica, obviously because it would be too costly just to get the rights. But come on! There are over 100 songs to choose from, and I'm sure you can find a band you'll like. I know I became a fan of Racer X and Dimmu Borgir after playing this game, but to give you a taste of what's in the game, allow me to give you guys a rapid-fire montage as to avoid copyright infringement despite the existence of fair use. Now check this shit out! But I should also mention that the game's soundtrack is also wonderfully crafted thanks to Peter McConnell. He's done a shit ton of music for LucasArts games, so he's got a pretty good repertoire. But let me show you what he's done for the Sea of Black Tears. Thing that makes this game awesome is the writing. Even in a world of heavy metal, the story doesn't take itself too seriously. It can be awesome when it needs to be, but there are plenty of funny moments as well. Take for example, the first mission where you free the headbangers.
Wish I could help them, but I mean, what do you do with a bunch of kids who don't know how to do anything but bang their heads all day long?
You start a revolution, Lars. It's time to sound the battle cry.
Have you been looking at my sword?
Even in the intro cutscene, it asks you if you want the vulgar language and the blood and gore, just to be safe. But there are some subtle moments like power slides and a power ballad moment. But my favorite is when you meet Ozzy. At first, he welcomes you with such bravado, but by the 5th time, he's more like, oh bloody hell, him again.
What is it?
That's awesome. Anyway, now that we're settled in this metal world, let's rock! The game is an action-adventure romp, like a heavy metal Legend of Zelda adventure, except replace Hyrule with this metal world and Link with Eddie. Instead of the Master Sword, Eddie wields a broad axe called the Separator in Clementine, his magical electric V guitar. But how magical is this guitar? Well, strum some notes with it and you can set your enemies ablaze or electrify them. But you'll come across tab slots that give Eddie music to play that serves as magic spells, from summoning relics in your hot rod to more offensive spells like melting the faces of your enemies to even summoning a burning zeppelin to come crashing down. Those spells alone would make the manliest of metalheads cry tears of joy. But remember when I made the comparison to Link with Eddie? Well, Eddie does have one thing in common with Link. Eddie doesn't have a jump button. Well, he technically can jump, but he primarily jumps for his Earth Shaker attack, where he leaps up and unleashes an earth-shattering power core that blows any surrounding enemies away. But to get around in this expansive world, Eddie drives his hot rod, the Deuce. Driving this bad boy is badass, and the best part, it never tips over. But when you open your map to make a waypoint to your destination, the game literally shines a spotlight from the heavens to where you'll go. While you can mostly follow the ancient highway and roads, your hot rod can drive most of the terrain if you have the horsepower and nitro to power it, which will be enough to run over steel-quilled porcupines into roadkill. But if you want to make the Deuce a well-oiled machine, you'll need to pay a visit to Ozzy in the many metal forges across the land. In these metal forges, Ozzy can upgrade your gear, moves, and your vehicle. He can make your weapons do extra damage, elemental damage, and so on. But you can also buy new moves like epic yet offensive power slides and pyrotechnic attacks. The Deuce can get stronger, faster, gain nitro for extra kick, and a kick-ass arsenal. Seriously, you go from miniguns to shooting lightning bolts. You can also customize Eddie by getting him some new threads like patches for the back of his jacket, but if you bought the DLC, you can make him more Kiss-like, death metal inspired, or go full-on completionist with beard mode. But what I love best about this place is that for everything you want to purchase, Ozzy always has a witty remark to go along with it.
Slash and burn. The therapeutic heat on your lower back is a nice bonus. Here's a kicky little number. Just make sure you stretch first.
But in order to get what you need, you'll need the game's currency, which takes the form of fire tributes. To get those tributes, you must complete missions, side quests, or helping your fellow allies on the road. The side quests mostly consist of killing a batch of enemies and races with Fleetus the Demon. But the more soldiers you recruit, the ambush side quests will have a more diverse set of fighters that can aid in the fight. But I'll get to that later. There's also a passive side quest where you hunt the many creatures of the land by beating a set number of creatures than the Master Hunter. You can also get tributes by fighting the many collectibles in the game. Freeing these bound serpents from their SNM bondage will give you passive upgrades upon freeing 10 of each. Then there are these chained artifacts of metal that gives you glimpses of how this metal world was formed, and it's worth watching. Landmark Viewers gives you cinematic viewings of special landmarks like this wall made of amps and speakers, ancient statues, and so much more. There are also special jumps where you collect these lightning plug bugs. But be on the lookout for devil thorns, which are these botanical knots to the devil horn salute. Use the relic raiser tab to summon relics like buried metal that unlock new music tracks in the metal forges where you go visit Ozzy. But Eddie can only do so much by himself. After all, he's a roadie, not a one-man band, and the people he recruits for the resistance can be of help to him too, and you can perform special double teams. Headbangers can form a devastating mosh pit, Razor Girls can fire a bigger spread shot, riding with Thunderhogs can stun enemies, roadies can do knockback damage. There's a lot of people that will join your cause and each of them are awesome. Thankfully, you can also give them commands on what to do like your own Heavy Metal Rainbow Six. So yeah, this game is awesome. To me, this game is like Metallica. It features all the hits, from Master of Puppets, the Black Album, and Ride the Lightning. But for every good hit, there is Saint Anger. You Metallica fans know what I'm talking about. But for those who don't know, allow me to introduce y'all to Saint Anger in this game. The stage battles. Remember when I said this game was mostly action-adventure? Well, this game is also part real-time strategy, which is something many wouldn't associate heavy metal with, so let me explain how these battles usually go. You have your main stage that serves as your home base where you can summon your units, but like in RTS games, you'll need resources to build up your base and upgrade your units. That's where these fan geysers come in. Don't question it, just go with it. You'll need to extract them by building merch boots, and they will power your stage. The more fans you accumulate, the more units you can create. Infantry, range, healer, infantry killer, building destroyers, you name it. At first, you're doing it on foot, but by the second battle, Eddie sprouts demon wings to fly. Don't worry, the story will explain this, and he commands his armies from above, utilizing the same commands you've learned. But commanding your units at this scale is not exactly easy, since you sometimes need to place a beacon to point them in the direction where you need them to go, and you need to be near them so they can follow those orders. But sometimes you'll need a specific unit to do something else, and to do that, you need to hold down a button to pick that specific unit, and then press the command while holding down the button to do said command. But you have to be on the battlefield to help with combat, since it's not easy to do these battles from above all the time. Fortunately, there are tabs that were made to help with these battles, like a spell that grounds your enemy commander, negates debuffs and the like, and stopping your enemy from summoning more troops. Probably titled Rock Block. See how complicated it all sounds? And I don't play RTS games at all, let alone one on console, so I don't know how intuitive this all is. Thankfully though, the main objective of these battles is to destroy your opponent's stage. But make no mistake, while the battles are good on paper, these battles can drag on if you're not prepared, and it kills the game's pacing. In some missions, you're killing a giant spider made of chrome and providing backup for your monster tour bus. Think of them like rocking out to 2 Minutes to Midnight or Thunderstruck. But these battles feel like you're rocking out to all 17 minutes of AHHYADADADO. Sure, the first few minutes are good, but the middle part goes on for so long until it reaches the climactic end. No offense, but I came to seek and destroy, not to occasionally play chess with Twisted Scissors Sellout Brigade, or Marilyn Manson's Black Parade, or these demonic S&M chuds. There is a multiplayer stage battle mode, but I don't really care about that. Lars builds his army and Eddie develops a relationship with Ophelia, and General Limelight is eventually defeated, with him learning the hard way why not to break a mirror. But Emperor Dovicles shows up looking for Secordia. But who is Secordia? Whoever she is, Dovicles claims she's supposed to spy on the humans and demands to show herself after throwing a black dagger, which is Ophelia's dagger. Could this be Ophelia's Dovicles' spy? Well, Lars confronts Dovicles, but Dovicles abruptly kills him. Damn! Taken too soon. Like Randy Rhoads and Cliff Burton. As everyone retreats, Lita confronts Ophelia and accuses her of being a traitor, but Eddie intervenes. He asks Ophelia who Secordia is, but she relents and Ophelia is abandoned. After the many months since Lars' death, Ophelia bathed herself in the Sea of Black Tears and is now in command of the Drowning Doom and vows to destroy Eddie and Lita's army. But they do get help from the Fire Barons, and after meeting the Zalia tribe, it is revealed that Eddie is the son of Ragnarok, a hero of this metal world. Either way, Eddie does drive back Ophelia for one final confrontation, but Dovicles enters the fray. Eddie accuses Ophelia for being Dovicles' spy, Secordia, but Dovicles reveals that Secordia is actually the past demon empress of the Tainted Coil that Eddie's dad was supposed to kill long ago. But he didn't actually kill her, but fell in love with her and copulated. That's right, Eddie is the son of Secordia, which explains how Eddie could sprout demonic wings. Dovicles proceeds to pull out Ophelia's black heart to fuse with his, killing her into black liquid. Then Dovicles wields a wicked double V guitar and plays a very skin-crawling riff to commence the final battle. So Judas Priest, don't fail me now!
Decapitation!
After Dovicles is slain, Eddie retrieves Ophelia's black heart from the corpse and dives down into the Sea of Black Tears, only to find the real Ophelia. They both escape the sea's clutches, they kiss, and the war is over. Sometime after, everyone holds a celebration to pronounce their freedom as they pay tribute to the one that led them to this moment, Lars, with another hero to commemorate their victory, led by Lita. Wait, what about Eddie? Well, he chooses not to hog in the spotlight and packs up to head on the road. A roadie's job is not to hog the spotlight, but to let someone else shine in it. And the game ends as Eddie drives on the open road, while Ophelia sheds a black tear. This is a game for the ages, and that is why Brutal Legend is legendary! Actually, the stage battles do hold it back a bit, and there are a few flaws, so it's not that legendary. The game could have benefited with less of the stage battles. If the game was just hacking, slashing, and guitaring your enemies to death, it would have worked to the game's benefit. Besides that, the positives heavily outweigh that big negative. I could get lost in this world and not care. The characters are amazing and memorable, the writing can be funny or awesome when need be, and the story is metal goodness. Sure, no jumping sucks, but it's alright. but the real-time strategy portion of the game may put off some gamers away. But I will say that Brutal Legend is one of the most underrated games ever, and I sincerely hope we get a sequel to this, and I don't care how. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Tim Schafer used Fig to help fund Psychonauts 2, so that should suffice. And if they do make a sequel, can I make a suggestion? Bring in the big four of metal in this game, as the literal heavy metal world's 4 horsemen. Seriously, I want James Hetfield, I want David Mustaine, I want Scott Ian, anyone from Slayer. Please do yourself a favor and get this game and spread the word of metal to the masses, because metal must rise again! But that's all the time I have for you all today, so remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it across the web, would you kindly? Till then, I'm Moon Spirit saying good night, long live metal, and of course, thank you so much for sticking with me for 6 whole years. Kanpai!